I didn't mean balance in your body, I mean balance in your life.
Miyagi-Do karate is about self-defense, about protecting others, about patience, but most importantly, about balance. Not just during a fight, but in life. This is what Daniel tries to teach his students. And they had to learn those lessons during the hardest of times. Their friends turned into bullies. They had to endure vandalism, theft, and even outright assault. They were attacked and severely injured multiple times. This is why they turned to Miyagi-Do in the first place. They had to learn how to navigate this new world in which they had become a target. Miyagi-Do helped them through many of those struggles. 1 or 2 bumps in the road included. In Season 3, the Eagle Fangs split off from Cobra Kai, and Johnny's students find common ground with the Miyagi-Dos. And the students are the first to realize that the different styles aren't better than one another, but simply very different.
Oh, shit. I missed.
Johnny teaches his kids to be bold, to be confident and decisive, to never give up. And the impact of those teachings are undeniable. They realize that they have to unite against their common enemy, Cobra Kai under John Kreese's control.
Hit him again. A fight isn't over until your enemy is finished.
In Season 4, they go on a journey to combine both styles, to find middle ground between the balance of Miyagi-Do and the decisiveness of Eagle Fang. For the longest time during the season, Daniel and Johnny are both protective of their own style, and in extension of their students. They don't think much of the other's approach to karate, and they believe that learning the opposite style will actually hinder their students' progress. Only at the very end do they realize what their students had figured out long before, that they are better off learning both styles of fighting and living.
Trust your instincts. Use everything you've learned from me and Sensei Lawrence. All of it.
That's right. Every now and then.
And while their collaboration in Season 4 was born out of necessity, it wasn't until Season 5 that they finally managed to work things out between one another. They even began to see the good in each other's teachings. We were finally ready to go into the final season with our senseis and our students at the top of their game. And considering they're about to fight the best in the world, that's the bare minimum if they want to stand a chance in the Sekai Taikai. But the writers had other plans for Season 6. Instead, why don't we just simply throw everything we've achieved so far out the window? We're right back to the constant fighting between Johnny and Daniel.
I'm gonna coach the tournament with you. For the kids. Not for you. Not for this dojo. For them. But once we win, you and I are done. For good.
Here we go again, with the same old shtick, as if nothing happened, as if there was no character development up to this point. Both of them are trying to keep the original students from the teachings of the other sensei, not trusting each other in the slightest. Remember those moments?
Use everything you've learned from me and Sensei Lawrence. But I see now, some of what you teach can be good sometimes.
I should have just let him train with you. You'd have been a stronger fighter.
Well, I hope so, because the show doesn't, which is incredibly sad. Not just because Season 6 is far worse for it, but if you look at those older scenes in the context of Season 6, they lose all their meaning because Johnny and Daniel didn't actually learn anything in the long run.
Mr. Miyagi always told me there is no such thing as a bad student. Only a bad teacher. And your dad had the worst teacher there ever was.
And considering their lack of guidance, it's not surprising that their students aren't any better. Just like their teachers, they have forgotten everything they've learned. Whenever people talk about different styles, it's just empty words. They're not committed to one or another. They show neither restraint nor decisiveness. They behave like headless chickens most of the time. And they're about as balanced as Anakin during Order 66. They are looking for fights. They take any opportunity to get them. Incidentally, this criticism dates back to the beginning of season 5 for me, although their motivation was a little stronger back then, and has continued into season 6. Miguel is eager to beat up Mexican criminals. Nobody held back in the water park either. Going into season 6, the fight at the fraternity was certainly a new low, and I have no idea why anyone would take this Quan guy serious and be provoked by him all the time. Well, but here we are. They are just way too happy to beat the living crap out of one another. And I'm not saying that they are not supposed to have fights in a series about karate. That would be silly. Of course I want them to fight. That's part of the fun. But there must always be a good reason for a fight to break out. And considering them becoming more mature was the point of the prior 2 seasons, the setup for the fights is simply unacceptable. The conflict between Miguel and Robbie is also born out of their newfound immaturity. I know the whole college topic is kind of weird in the US, I get that. And I like that Miguel is ambitious in that regard. But I don't like him turning into a dick all of a sudden just because winning a tournament might increase his chances of getting into his preferred college. That's the guy who left his successful dojo for a completely new one because his old teammates were bullying his friends. That's the same guy who walked away from the All Valley in season 4 because there are more important things in life than karate. And at that point, college was already on his mind. It would be one thing if one of the students was out of balance and it was recognized as a problem. And it seems that Robbie was supposed to play that part. But unfortunately, I can't find a single student who is balanced. And so Robbie's journey doesn't stand out. Or rather, it's strange to see him singled out when everyone has forgotten the lessons they've learned over the last 5 seasons. A quick aside about Robbie and his problems. I thought it was quite inappropriate to create drama between him and Tori by getting him drunk and not do anything with it afterwards. I think there was maybe one throwaway line by Robbie after getting drunk, even though this should be a big deal for him, and that's it. I always thought his dislike for alcohol was criminally underdeveloped, considering both of his parents had severe alcohol problems and the incident in season 2 with Sam getting drunk. And at one time it was overtly brought up and sounded like a slogan from one of those anti-alcohol campaigns you learn about in school.
I'm good.
Well, you can't handle a sip of beer?
No, I just don't need a drink to pretend to be cool.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about, or is this just a German thing? Well, anyway. Another prime example of forgetting everything he's learned is Dimitri. In season 2, no one was more suspicious of Chris and the other former Cobra Kais who joined Miyagi-Do. To build trust and the belief that people can change, Daniel gave both of them a task which they had to complete together, and eventually Chris became a valued member of the team. Fast forward to season 6, it's once again Dimitri who is wary of Kenny, another Cobra Kai who teamed up with Miyagi-Do. We're just treading water, doing the same thing we've done much better in earlier seasons. But that's nothing compared to his storyline with Hawk. Dimitri's behavior cannot be surpassed in terms of pitifulness. At every possible point in the season, he gives Hawk a hard time because he dared to have his own will, aka not applying to the same university as Dimitri. And the worst part, this hasn't been of any importance for the longest time of the show, yet this is played up as the worst betrayal since Walter Fry orchestrated the Red Wedding. And the question how Dimitri got into the tournament in the first place remains to be answered. His character arc should have never led to the Sekai Taikai. He was at a great place in season 4. He had become confident, balanced, and mature. Considering where he started out at in season 2, that's something he would never have dared to dream of. He had proven himself. He may not have stood a chance against a truly talented fighter like Robbie, but because of his impressive development, he was victorious even in defeat. And by the way, Dimitri was ready to call it quits because he was aware of his potential, or the lack thereof. And there is a value in giving it your very best but knowing when you've reached your limit. But the show gave up on that lesson when Jasmine talked him out of quitting. But instead of just giving in, he could have made a case of relocating his priorities to university instead of just giving up. We should get ready to give every character a worthwhile send-off, and this could have been his, but instead we've rebooted his character to factory settings. Which brings me back to the teachers and their failure, because the fact that Dimitri was even in consideration of making it to the tournament is proof enough that the selection process was incredibly flawed and that Tori was right to be worried. Daniel and Johnny went right back to acting as senseis of different dojos. Daniel is a Miyagi-Do who primarily looks out for his students. He dismisses Johnny's picks and proposes Dimitri and Anthony, which is beyond laughable.
Whoa. Anthony, come on. Are you trying to make the Psyche Tech a LaRusso family vacation?
At this point, Johnny actually suggests the only proper solution if they cannot come to an agreement. Letting the students fight it out until they have 6 fighters.
You and I are not fighting.
Or what about the kids? Cutthroat, no holds barred, battle royale. Last 6 standing, go to Barcelona.
Sure, that's all we need. Everyone showing up with black eyes and broken limbs.
But instead, Daniel contacts Mike Barnes, who is supposed to test the kids in every way possible, except actually letting them fight and test their fighting abilities. During that process, Johnny also props up his eagle fangs. This involves getting into a fight with Mike Barnes for some silly reason. Firstly, I thought we were past that. But like his students, he is eager for a fight. I don't ever expect him to fully embrace.
Best defense is no be there. Where the hell were you?
No be there.
But he's been on a long character journey. That has to count for something, doesn't it? Secondly, this fight is so random and unnecessarily dangerous that it just comes across as silly and meaningless.
You win.
But at least, Johnny's head is in the tournament. For Daniel, this is the 3rd season in which he's too distracted to train his students, because he's busy doing something else. In this case, he even leaves them hanging during the tournament. Once again, doing the same thing the show has done before, but worse. And don't get me started on the resolution of their conflict. They are at each other's throat until one monologue by Miguel alleviates all of their differences.
Hey! What the hell are you two doing? I mean, shit. Did Kreese turn a wimpy, skinny little kid into one of the All-Valley champs in 6 months? Did he fix me when I was broken?
Not a chance.
And Mr. Miyagi, I mean, did he take every single one of those kids from the Valley when Cobra Kai came back? Did he crank Kicksilver out of the Valley for good?
There is not even a meaningful resolution to the conflict, just a simple retelling of their accomplishments in the prior season. And that's it. Treading water at its finest. Let me be very clear. At its core, this video wasn't just about Daniel's or Johnny's shortcomings. I'm in no way in a crusade against their characters. By all means, pretty much every character of importance took quite a bit of flack in this video. My criticism of their teachings is only an example of the main problem with this season. The writing, which has deteriorated dramatically. Its criminal lack of imagination, creativity, and consistency, and its careless disregard for what came before. The result is what we know as the atrocious final season of Cobra Kai.
What is the purpose of karate?
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir.